lessons on polars because that's how long the unit is. So our plan for today is just that we're going to review the 2 lessons that we covered. And then next time you guys are going to take your test on this. Okay, the last unit is also really short and then you're done with the year. Okay. Your vectors test, I'm sorry it's taking me so long to grade it. I'll have it in focus by the end of the day today. Okay. All right, so you are going to actually take this test on Delta Math. Okay, so all of these test questions are going to be just like this, but you'll be doing them on the computer. Okay, so let's do 2 of these off the first page. Before we keep going, will you get out your unit circle?
What's that?
You know, it's the circle.
I never got that.
Honey, we've done it the whole semester. This thing. And the only reason that I want you to get this out is because it has everything labeled on it. And you'll look on your thing here and see that all of them, I guess the first one's labeled. You could just peek at this. But they're not all labeled when you're placing the points. Okay?
You get this before ACT, right?
Yeah, you got it in like February. All right, so let's do number 3. Okay, remember that when you're plotting polars, it's r comma theta. Okay, so remember r is going to be what ring you count out from the center. Okay, theta is going to be your angle. So if I want to do 6, that's my r. Negative pi 6 is my theta. And remember, if you get a negative angle, you're always starting from here. Positive angles, you go up. Negative angles, you go down. Okay? So if I want to do negative pi 6, I would look at where positive pi 6 is and then just rotate the same amount but down. So for example, pi 6 is 1 click up, then negative pi 6 would be 1 click down. Okay. And then I want to be on which ring? 6. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the first part of your test, you're just plotting points. Okay. Let's do one more. Turn the page. Okay, we're going to do one with a negative radius. You don't have to draw the arrow. For Delta Math, it'll be just like on your homework. You'll just drag the dot where you want it.
We have Delta Math first.
No, your test is on Delta Math. It won't be a paper test.
So it's easier first.
Sure, yeah. All right, so it's r comma theta. Okay, so for the next one, I want to find 3 pi fourths. So if you have your unit circle, you can find it on there. Okay, if not, then just go back and flip to number 1 where they're all labeled. Okay, so I see that 3 pi fourths on my circle is this center click right here. So that means that this is 3 pi fourths here. Okay, now if I go towards 3 pi fourths, that means that I have a positive r. But if my r is a negative 3, do you remember you traced the other way? So I would actually go through the middle this direction. And I'd count out to the 3rd ring. So 1, 2, 3 would put it right there. Okay. So if you want to put a thing here, count rings away when your r is negative. Okay. All right, and then last one we'll do off this page. Let's do number 8. Okay, so now we have a negative r and a negative angle. So it's going to be r comma theta. First thing that I want to do is find where pi would be. Okay, so let me put my little circle up here. Normally, pi is here, halfway around the circle. Negative pi will end up where? So if this is pi, halfway around the top, where would negative pi be?
The other side.
Halfway around the bottom, but because you're going halfway, you'd end up in the same spot. So pi and negative pi, you're in the same spot.
Are we gonna be able to use this thing on the fence?
You'll have a formula chart with the unit circle on it.
Let's see what it's-
Okay, so this is pi. And this is negative pi, because if you turn halfway around, you're gonna end up in the same spot either way. Okay, so I'm gonna label it with a minus pi, but really we know it's the same as pi. Okay, then from there, my r is a negative 2. That means do I go towards it or away? So I'd go 1, 2 this way, place my dot right there. Do we feel like we can plot these
So wait, can we go back to the first one?
on this page?
Number 5.
Uh-huh.
Wait, how do you-
So we found 3 pi fourths,
Mhm.
and then we counted the other way 3. Because it's a negative r. So instead of going towards it 3,
You
we
always
went
count
3
the
away.
center? Okay, it's because I always forget to count that.
Yeah. All right, go ahead and turn the page. All right, so the first skill that you should be able to do is plot points in polar mode. Okay. Second thing you should be able to do is to convert the polar, which is an r comma theta, into rectangular form, which is an x comma y. Okay, in your notes, we called this Cartesian coordinates because that's like the fancy name. Okay, but rectangular and Cartesian are the same. So I'm going to give you your 2 little formulas up there at the top. Okay, your x is going to be r cosine theta. Your y is going to be r sine theta. And then if you want to put a little note here, remember that you're going to pull these 2 things off the unit circle. Use unit circle. So with that being said, let's do number 11 together. Okay, my r is a 6 root 2. My theta is a 7 pi fourth. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up x equals r cosine theta. This is my r, this is my theta. So it's 6 root 2 cosine 7 pi fourths. And then my y is going to be 6 root 2 sine 7 pi fourths. Okay, because remember, I want to turn this into an x comma y, then I got to find an x and a y, and then I'll put them in like a little ordered pair. Okay, I'm going to find cosine of 7 pi fourths using my unit circle. So let me put it up here for you. Hopefully you have your own as well. 7 pi fourths is right here. And then remember, cosine is whatever the x is at that point. Sine is whatever the y is. Okay, and on your thing, it should say cosine's the x, sine is the y. So at 7 pi fourths, my x is a root 2 over 2. Go ahead and sub that in here. And then my other one was a negative root 2 over 2. Okay, then from here, remember, numbers that are outside square roots, those can go together. Numbers that are inside square roots, those can go together as well. So what I mean by that is, what is 6 divided by 2? 3. And then this is a little bit throwback, but what is root 2 times root 2 again? Regular 2. Because remember, when you times the square root by itself, do you remember you just keep the number from the middle? The reason that happens, in case you forgot, is root 2 times root 2 is root 4. And then what's the square root of 4? Regular 2. Okay. So I end up with 3 times 2, which is 6. Do the same thing on the other one. I have numbers on the outside that can go together. 6 divided by 2 will give me a 3. My root 2 times my negative root 2 is going to cancel out to a negative regular 2. Because anytime you have 2 numbers under the same square root, you're going to just cancel out the root and keep the number from the middle. And then that's going to be a negative 6.
Is this always gonna be like the negative of the top? Like, is it
They
just
will
like-
not always come out that way. So your answer for this would be 6, negative 6. Okay. Let's do another one. Let's go to number 11 or number 10. Okay, so I have an r and a theta. I have a 4 as my r and a pi as my theta. So remember your formula is that x is r cosine theta, so 4 cosine pi. And my y is going to be 4 sine pi. Okay, and then remember what I told y'all last class. This is basically the vectors crap again. Okay, that you're putting the length in the front, and then it's cosine of the angle for the x, sine of the angle for the y. Okay, let me put my circle up here. Pi is right here. Cosine of pi is which number? -1. Then I want 4 times -1, which is -4. What is the sign going to be at pi? Yeah. It would be the 0 because it's the y value. And then what's 4 times 0? 0. So your ordered pair would be -4, 0. Okay. Questions on that? Okay. Go ahead and turn the page when you're ready. So you have 2 of those to try on your own. Okay, also, if you're behind on homework, you have a homework with this type of questions on there you can go back and work on. Okay, on the next page, you're going in reverse. So you have the x comma y, and you're trying to turn it into an r comma theta. Okay, in case you do not have your formulas, I'm going to give them to you. R is going to be the square root of x squared plus y squared. Okay, that's just like vectors. If you want to make a little note to yourself, remember, no negatives in this guy. Okay, when you're doing a squared plus b squared, we didn't include the negatives. Same thing here. Okay, and then for your angle, you'll do tan theta equals y over x, and then you're going to use your direction chart. Okay, and if you don't remember what your direction chart is, I'll give it to you right here. It's theta, 180 minus, 180 plus, 360 minus. So it's step 1, step 2, step 3. All right, so then maybe we'll do number 15. Okay, I have an x comma y. I want to turn it into a polar point. That means I need an r and a theta. How do I find my r? X squared plus y squared, then take the square root. So it's 3 squared plus 1 squared. Then take the square root. In your calculator, 3 squared plus 1 squared gives me how many? 10. Then it's the square root of 10. And then you should check to see if you can take this root evenly. So I'm going to put the square root of 10 in my calculator. If it comes out perfect, I'm going to use it. If not, see how it came out to 3.16? Then I'm going to keep it just like that. Okay, so I'm going to put here, this is 3.16. So I want this one. Okay, but if it came out to a perfect whole number, you would use that instead. Second thing we need is our tan. So we're going to do tan theta equals y over x is 1 over 3. Okay, you do need to be in degree mode for this. So if you want to double check that before. Okay, second tan here, 1 over 3. Okay, and I got 18 degrees. Let me make sure I'm in the right. Okay, I am. So if you got 18, that is correct. Now, 18 degrees is the final answer as long as you're in quadrant 1. But I got to think about if my actual point is -3, -1, which of these corners would that put me in? If I go -3 and then -1, the 180 plus. So I'm going to put here, I would be in quadrant 3, which is 180 plus 18, which means it's going to be 198. And then remember, when you type it into your delta math for your test, it's going to be root 10, comma, 198. Okay. But you'll find the R first, the theta second, and then type it in as an ordered pair. Do we need to do another one of those, or we feel good about it? Good? Okay. Perfect. All right, turn to the last page. Okay, for the last page, this is where your calculator needs to switch mode. So on the page we were just on, you're in degree mode. Okay, for the next page, all the way till the end, you need to be in radian and polar. Okay, if on your test you forget how to switch this, I'm happy to help you with that. Hey Charlie, did you get your review? It's right over there, that big stack on there. All right, so you're hitting the mode button. We want radian and we want polar. Okay. All right, all of the ones that you should type in, okay, as long as it starts with an R equals, you can literally just put it here and then match the graph on the picture. So for example, let's say that I wanted to do number 20 down here. It says -3 sine 3 theta. Then I'm going to type in -3 sine 3x. And notice when I push that X button, a theta is going to pop up instead because I'm in polar mode. Okay, then hit graph. Okay, I see that I have a flower. Remember, you would pick 3 petals. And then this top petal I can see is 1, 2, 3 in length. So I just want to match that. 1, 2, 3. And then if you fix this petal, if you remember from that homework, the other petals should kind of fix themselves. So 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yes. Good job. Okay, now look at the rest of this page, and I want you to tell me which of these is not an R equals equation that I could just type into the calculator. So 20 is, which one's not? Okay, if it's theta equals, remember, you can't put it in the calculator. It's just going to be a straight line. Okay, and you have to make sure that your line goes through the correct angle on the circle. So let me put my circle up here. If you don't have yours, you can go back to number 1 where they're all labeled. Where is 11 pi 6? Which quadrant? Okay, right here. And then you'll notice it's not the middle one. It's one off from the middle. So when you draw it in, you're just going to draw a straight line through 11 pi 6 is here. And you would just draw your line in like that. So if it's theta equals, it's a straight line. Everything else you can just put into the calculator. Okay. All right, I think there's only 2 left on the back, so let's do number 22. Type in 2 minus 2 sine theta. 2 minus 2 sine theta. Okay, remember for your theta, you're just putting the regular X button and it should pop up correct. Okay, we can see we have the lily pad shape. Okay, how far down does it reach? How many units? 4. 4. So then you just want to make sure that when you do your lily pad that it reaches down. Okay, and remember, when you stretch it on Delta Math, it should fix the rest of the graph for you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just kind of do your best. Okay, the last thing that I do want to say is that remember, okay, if it doesn't look like a perfect circle on here, okay, but it does look like a perfect circle on Delta Math, that's okay. Remember that your calculator is not a perfect square screen, so it may look a little more ovally on here than it actually looks on Delta Math. Okay? All right, so you have the rest of class to finish. Your test is going to be on Friday, and then you only have 1 more test left in this class.